You're just a big, fat panda.
I'm not a big fat panda. I'm the big fat panda. Skadoosh.
Getting to know you, getting to know all about you, getting to like you, getting to hope you like me.
Welcome to Big Fat Panda show number 27, chock full of Halloween stuff. This is basically our Halloween episode because most of the Halloween stuff is going on now. Our guest this month is Mr. Jim Korkis, a noted author and Disney historian that most people will call legendary. You will see why in just a little bit. Please let me thank my exclusive sponsor, David's Vacation Club Rentals at dvcrentals.com. If you get a chance, please check out dvcrentals.com. You will be glad you did. There are price calculators on the site to see just how much a stay at a Disney Vacation Club would cost, a Disney Vacation Club resort, even if you don't own Disney Vacation Club. Because it's Halloween time, I asked my friend Lon Smart. He is a local theme park designer and animator. I asked him to make me a graphic of the panda for Halloween that I could use on the website. So if you go to bigfatpanda.com, you can just click on this graphic. You'll see it's a panda ghost, and it will bring you to all the Halloween videos. Anyhow, not only did he do an amazing logo picture of the panda ghost, but I love that he sent me a video on the creation of it, because what's amazing to me is the panda is in a sheet, but they actually draw what's underneath first to see how the sheet will lay and where it should have its creases. Just take a look at the creation of the Lon Smart Panda Ghost. Thank you so much, Lon. Right, isn't that cool? So if you click that on bigfatpanda.com, you'll go right to all the Halloween videos. But let's start with Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. This year it's a little different, it's a little exciting. Some things got taken away, but I'm glad of the additions. The first big addition is the Hocus Pocus villain Spelltacular. Not spectacular, Spelltacular. It goes on in front of the castle. It's the Sanderson sisters from Hocus Pocus, because I think Hocus Pocus 2 is coming out soon. I wasn't a big fan of Hocus Pocus, but I love the Sanderson sisters, and literally for the first 10 seconds, you'll see why, I thought Bette Midler had come to the Magic Kingdom. I was like, Bette came for the opening of the show? Wow! And then I realized the lady on stage is too young to be Bette Midler. But take a peek. Don't you think that this looks just like Bette Midler?
No, we're back in the living world.
The living world!
Yes, don't you understand? We've harnessed the magic to return to this kingdom for but one night. And we shall make it grand tonight.
Anyhow, it was a great show. BigFatPanda.com has the full show if you want to go see that. It's in multi-angle. I took the two shots of far away and close up. Also, the Boo to You Parade, I put out a highlight video. Let's take a peek at that. Hasn't changed much. It's still the great Boo to You Parade. Do you mind?
I mean, I'll post stuff.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
This is Sherry and Gary. Now, what I want you to notice, not just because they're really nice people, look at this shirt, okay? Sherry, I'm gonna zoom up on your shirt.
Okay.
Where do you buy it, right? It's awesome. She made it. Sherry, you bought the fabric.
Yes.
And you found a pattern.
Yes.
And you made the shirt.
Yes.
Okay, come on. Come on, guys. That's amazing. So, this is a one of a kind. We can't have the shirt. Too bad. Thank you, Sherry.
My earrings.
Tell me you made them too.
Yes, I did.
Haley. See, Haley would like this. Wow. Okay, Haley, you as the expert Disney artist, what do you think of the earrings?
I think they're amazing. They're so cool. I don't even think that I could sculpt those. They're awesome.
And here we have Zach from San Antonio, and this is his 103rd visit to the Magic.
This is my first visit.
I know, I'm kidding. It's his first visit.
This looks good.
And here we have some Navi. What?
2 years time, I know what
Yes.
it'll be ready.
That is very cool.
You guys look. I wonder if they would let people in.
Inside Out people! I'm doing a video, so... Okay, so when you're on the Expedition Everest now, here's the new improved Disco Yeti that's getting installed. When do you go to get installed?
Sometime next decade.
Oh, good, awesome, we can't wait. Awesome, thank you.
It's coming soon.
And other people coming to the Halloween party is Leonard. Hi, Leonard.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Anybody you expect to meet tonight or see?
The Sanders and sisters.
Okay,
They are amazing.
Yeah, I think you have to be away from the cauldron because you're made out of felt and it could go up in flames. Yeah, don't worry, just stay back here.
Okay.
It's not so very scary. Wow! It's really not so scary.
And Halloween would not be complete without the Hallowishes. Here is the finale for Hallowishes. Oh, and I almost forgot. Before the Boo to You parade, you can catch this twice. The Headless Horseman rides again, and this time is coming for you. Now, what I did miss this year is usually at the Diamond Horseshoe, they have a Halloween party with all the villains and they're all just dancing and doing everything. I think all the money went to the Hocus Pocus show. A fantastic show. Probably the best stage show ever done in front of the castle, in my opinion. The projections on the castle added to it, didn't take away, but we did lose a couple of other things. Hopefully they'll be coming back in years to come. Another big thing that happened was the Jock Lindsey Hangar Bar. This is the Indiana Jones themed bar. It just opened in Disney Springs, and first of all, before we get to the Indiana Jones bar, look at this land behind me at Disney Springs. This is how much land is still being developed that we haven't even seen yet or kind of know what's going in. There's like a town center. I just looked at it, and there's more than what I'm even showing you here, and I just couldn't believe how much more there is to do. It's going to be amazing and beautiful when it's done. It also makes me think that Saratoga Springs, which sometimes is not the most popular resort, is really going to become more popular, because I would love to visit Disney Springs and then walk over the bridge back to my room, albeit possibly a little drunk, but it would be a lot of fun. So they had the ribbon cutting for the Jock Lindsey Hangar Bar. And then me and the usual suspect of people and friends that I know, we went into the Jock Lindsey Hangar Bar. And the price point I thought was really good. I don't know if it's because the expensive boathouse was next door, and I thought, this is good. But I expected to pay like $12 and $13 for a drink, and I wound up paying $10, and I thought that was pretty good. The appetizers were all about $10. I had the Boulder sliders. I think they're the Indiana Jones Boulder. The sliders, they were beef, really good. They all had a different taste, something to make it adventurous, something like maybe cumin or something Asian was put into it. It tasted really good. Did you hear that the Osborne family spectacle lights are going away? I know. Listen, it's like the ugly duckling. It's going to look a lot worse before it looks better. It's going to be hard to go to the studios until Star Wars Land and Toy Story Land starts popping up. So we have to see what's going to happen there. But my hope is that the lights go to Disney Springs. Wouldn't that be perfect? It's such a draw that it would be an excellent merchandise thing for them, like to get people to buy merchandise. Speaking of merchandise, guess who's back? Corinne Anderson. She found it in her busy schedule to come and grace us with her presence. So let's go to Corinne Anderson in Mouseaholics.
Hi everybody and welcome back to Mouseaholics. My name is Corinne Anderson and today we're going to take a look at some Halloween merchandise perfect for the October season. So if you're ready for some Boo to You fun, come along. So these new t-shirts came out for the Halloween season, but I think they're beautiful for any season. So first of all, you have the Chernabog from Fantasia, Scar from Lion King, Maleficent, Sleeping Beauty everybody, and the favorite villain of them all, Hades. So if you want to rock some villain styles, these are the perfect t-shirts for you. So my next favorite item for this season is this Halloween lantern. It's featuring all new prints, featuring Donald, Mickey, Minnie, I think Chip and Dale is on there, Pluto, and it's all featuring some of the lands from Magic Kingdom. So as you can see, you can put a little candle in there and it will illuminate the lantern. And look how cute, like when you hang it up, it's a little hidden Mickey. So my last pick for this episode is these cute Star Wars Halloween pins. So if you're like a fan of the new Force Awakens movie that's going to come, you need a Star Wars Halloween mashup pin. The first one here is featuring Chewbacca. And then we have like a mix of them trick-or-treating. I mean, who doesn't want to have Star Wars characters showing up? My favorite, Darth Vader himself, eating some candy. So I hope you really like my favorite picks for this month. I hope you have a happy Halloween. To see even more Disney merchandise, please visit DisneyLifestylers.com and see you next month for even more of my favorite picks.
And a lot of things went on over at Universal Studios. I'm not going to get into that yet because I'd like to cover all the Disney stuff, and then if you want to skip over Halloween Horror Nights, you can, although nothing I'm going to show on this broadcast is really going to be questionable. I'm mostly going to touch on a few things and show you some fun stuff, but you can skip it all together if you wish when the time comes. For now, I want to draw your attention to my exclusive sponsor, David's Vacation Club Rentals YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/DVC Rentals. Their website is dvcrentals.com, but youtube.com/DVC Rentals is their YouTube channel. I did all their resorts for, the DVC resorts in the daytime. Now I'm doing them in the nighttime, right? It's a way to keep my job. Pretty soon I'll be like, let's do what do the resorts look like at 1:30 p.m.? What do they look like at 1:45? Kidding. But the night ones are really cool. I just did the Grand Floridian at night. Here is a clip from that. And apart from the crickets, I left the ambient sound of the resorts in this without music, because I think at night you want to just feel what the ambiance is. In any event, you can go to dvcrentals.com, actually youtube.com/dvcrentals. Please subscribe there the same way you just subscribe to bigfatpanda.com, and you can see all those videos there. And now I'm going to cover Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios. Like I said, if you want to skip, you can go to the time that's showing right above there. You'll skip over everything Halloween Horror Nights. I don't think you have to, though. This is really not going to show you a lot of the bad stuff. I'll leave that if you want to go to watch the videos themselves. Which all of the questionable videos have a big notice of viewer discretion advised prior to them. Okay, so the big thing is their icon Jack. Jack the evil clown is back. And Jack does a show. I'm only going to show you a little piece of this show, but this show, to me, is cutting-edge disaster catastrophe. Not in a bad way if it's what you like. It's just a very murderous show and as graphic as you could possibly be on a Central Florida theme park stage.
Tonight, we celebrate the kill.
On a much lighter note than that show, again, the video's on bigfatpanda.com if you want to see it. On a much lighter note are the scare zones. The one I liked the most was the Icons? Yes, the Icons scare zone. The icons that they've had over the years at Universal Studios. The Storyteller, the Usher, there's a whole bunch of others. Jack was one of them, Jack the Clown, I think, and now he's the one hosting this. But the Storyteller, she's a nice little grandma, and she's a beautiful person inside. So innocent. Take a look at the Storyteller.
I want to tell you a story.
At the media event, they put some makeup on me that was a very convincing cut on my face. So convincing that when I left and went through City Walk, security bombarded me and asked if I needed medical attention. They had no idea that I had just come from the media event at Universal Studios. So the prize for this month is going to be a Vinylmation, probably a Halloween-themed one, from my Vinylmation collection, new in the box. Just make sure you subscribe to bigfatpanda.com, thumbs up this video please, and put a comment, any comment. You could say, I want the Vinylmation, or you could just say, hi, or you could comment on the show. Anything at all that'll put you into the running, and I'll pick from those comments and thumbs up and subscribers from the YouTube channel. And now let's get to our guest, Mr. Jim Korkis. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here with the legendary Disney historian, Jim Korkis. That's you. It really is you. I'm going to give you the panda hug, please. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
I won't sleep tonight. I'm so excited.
Did I scare you that much? Oh, okay. What if I scared you? I could go the other way.
Who could be scared from a panda hug? Pandas, the cutest things on Earth.
I'm gonna keep that.
Well, when a panda is born, it's front page news.
They better not go extinct, because then nobody will know what I am in 10 years from now.
Well, nobody knows what dinosaurs really are either.
That's true.
For a while they were lizards, now they're birds.
I think a lot of people know Jim Korkis. And I think you've done the podcast thing and everybody.
I think you could live and be Jim Korkis and still not know Jim Korkis.
Well, for those people that haven't heard a podcast or haven't heard of you, I want to get a little bit of the early Jim Korkis, the guy that grew up in California, and how you mingled with Disney animators. And tell me early Jim Korkis, childhood.
Oh, gosh, thanks. I'd love to.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, boy.
That's great.
That's good.
Yes.
Give me, how old are you now? What you're going to tell me? How old are you?
Oh, I come from an acting background. You never say how old you are. However,
not now. I mean, when we're talking, what we're going.
How old I am right now? I'm as old as the hills and twice as dusty.
What age are you going back to? We're not going back to the. You go back to the womb? Or
we're going back beyond the womb when it was just darkness, and it was and what am I doing in here, and why would I ever want to leave? Basically, I was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Okay. And when I was 5 years old, moved to Glendale, California, because my dad was an executive working for American Airlines. and they transferred him out to the Los Angeles area.
5 years old seems to be the time that things happen in a lot of people's lives.
Oh, well,
Mine was 5. Remember 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, 5 is when you really start to remember those things. Before that, and that's always the debate too. Should you take your 2-year-old kid to a Disney theme park and irritate people with the stroller and with the crying in the shows and all that, because they're not going to remember any of this. But I think deep down some of that comes through. So 5 years old, I'm in Glendale, California, which is right next to Burbank, California, where the Disney studios are. And so when I'm about 12 or 13, I'm really interested in cartooning, really interested in animation.
Now, were you interested in that prior, or was it because you lived close to the studios?
I was interested in that prior because we would get 3 newspapers each Sunday, the LA Times, the LA Herald Examiner, and the LA Daily News. And they all had these huge full-color comic sections, and they all had different comic strips in them. Flash Gordon could only appear in a Hearst paper and all that.
So you would wait for these to
I
come.
would wait for these, and go through these. And this was also a big time of comic books. And as a hint of how old I am, comic books in those days were a dime, and they were
chiseled.
Yeah, they were chiseled out of stone. The Flintstone comics were. And so I was fascinated with that, and I was always fascinated with animation, because when I'd come home from school, there'd be all these shows. There would be Skipper Frank and Sheriff John, who was a real sheriff who was retired, and he would be on and he would do the show, and they would show these old cartoons. And then, of course, every Sunday night was the Disney television show that went through a bunch of different names, and this was Walt Disney Presents. This was before Wonderful World of Color. And I would watch the shows, especially that dealt with animation, and then at the end, I would get my little school notebook and my pencil, and I would write down as quick as I could all of the names that I saw, because they, you couldn't videotape these things in freeze frame, and none of so all of this. And then I went to the Glendale Burbank phone book and I looked up these names and I phoned them up.
You are a stalker.
I was a stalker.
That's awesome.
And my parents supported this.
What was your expectation when you called?
Well, I would phone up and I would introduce myself, and I would say I'm Jimmy Korkis, and that's what I was called in elementary school, and through junior high. I said I'm Jimmy Korkis, and I'm a student at and I just saw this show and your name was on it, and I would like to ask you some questions about how
that's awesome. A lot of people would want to do it and never go through with it.
Well, my parents are very, very supportive. If this is what you're interested in, you should talk to the people who know what are doing it.
That's interesting.
And so about 80% of the people I called, they were just great. Yeah. Another 15-20% thought that this was a gag, that one of their friends had set this up. Yeah, 12-year-old kid. Oh, I see you draw cartoons. Yeah, they were really funny. Yeah. And so and then another 5-7% were wrong numbers. A similar name or it just wasn't the person who was doing that. And so the very first Disney animator I ever met and ever interviewed was Jack Hanna. Jack Hanna was an animator. He was a story man at the Disney Studios with Carl Barks on Donald Duck cartoons. Then he became a director of Donald Duck cartoons. And so most of the Donald Duck cartoons you saw in the late 40s and the 50s, all of those were Jack Hanna. Jack Hanna was also the one who developed Chip and Dale.
No relation to Hanna-Barbera.
No. And he would get that all the time. Okay. His last name was Hanna, Hannah. Bill Hanna of Hanna-Barbera has no H at the end. And later in life he would get confused with Jack Hanna without the H, who is the wild animal guy who would bring the animals onto the Johnny Carson show. And so at the time, Jack Hanna had been retired from the Disney Studios. He was teaching at California Institute of the Arts. And he was very excited about a kid who was in the first year of these classes. A guy, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, John Lasseter. And he says, yeah, and he would go on and on about, yeah, we got this kid, and he really understands animation. I think we're going to get some good things out of him.
Wow,
and
they knew that early on. Amazing.
Jack did, and so he says, oh yeah, why don't you come up? Because again, I was going to school. Why don't you come up some weekend? And so we made an arrangement for me to go up on a Saturday. And
Did you realize what a big thing this was, or?
I knew that this was an adult, so I better be respectful, and I better, but it didn't. In those days, it was like Disney animators. Yeah. Oh wow. Okay. Doesn't Walt draw everything? Walt draws everything, and he makes all the movies, and then on the weekend he takes his hammer and saw and goes down to Anaheim and builds that.
Disneyland.
Builds Disneyland. So anyway, I was too young to drive, so my mom took me up and dropped me off, and I'm in my Sunday suit, the best suit I had, because again I wanted to look mature. So I'm wearing this black suit and this really thin black tie, so I look like an undertaker. And I have this clunky tape recorder and 2 notebooks, one where I could take notes and one that I had written some questions, because I didn't know a lot, but I wanted to write as much as I could, and I knew he'd worked on Donald Duck a bit, and I had extra pens in my pocket in case one of them ran out of ink and all that. Now, the problem was, of course, is even though he's in Glendale, he's about a 10, 15-minute drive away from where I am. And it's a Saturday afternoon, and it's hot, and I'm there an hour ahead of time because I didn't want to miss. But again,
that was like me in your driveway today.
Yeah, and I don't want to intrude on him because, we had agreed at 1 o'clock. No sense.
That's great that you thought about that at 12, 13 years old.
Yeah, and so what I did is I'll kill some time. I'll walk around the block.
Now, Mom is still waiting, or she already?
No, she's gone.
Okay.
She's going to come. She says, phone me when you want me to come pick me up. I figured, I'd be talking to this guy maybe a half hour, an hour at most, and walked around the block and didn't kill enough time. So walked around the opposite way. Still not enough time. So walked around again. And now it's about 10 minutes to 1. And so I take a deep breath and take my chance, and I go and I walk up the stone steps, because there's this little incline to the front door, and I knock on the front door, and this woman answers, and I go, hello, my name is Jimmy Korkis, and I have an interview with Mr. Hanna, and she turns and yells in the living room, Jack, it is him! And Jack Hanna comes out, and he's in this sports shirt.
Is he watching you walk around?
Yes. He says, yeah, we were watching you. We were wondering when you were going to come up. And Jack is this short, stout guy. He was a Golden Gloves boxer. Started talking 4 hours. 4 hours. And his wife had to come in and say, is Jimmy going to be staying for dinner? And at that point, I realized, we've been talking for 4 hours. I kept changing the tapes, of course.
Now, Mom couldn't call you. There was no cell phones that day. So she just had to assume you were...
Yeah. And so basically at that point, we wrapped it up, and I phoned Mom to come pick me up. And Jack says, you know who you should be talking to? You should be talking to Ward Kimball. And he picked up the phone and phoned Ward Kimball. And he said, Ward, I got this kid here who's really interested in animation, and he's a...
Now, Ward Kimball is one of the, what do they call it, the 7 old men? The
9 old men.
9 old men.
Yeah.
And he was mostly responsible for animating...
He created Jiminy Cricket, but he also animated the Cheshire Cat. He did Pecos Bill.
And you had meetings with Ward Kimball?
Yes.
Okay, this is...
And Jack said, be careful, this guy is crazy.
Sorry, I'm wigging out just a little bit.
And so... Ward did not live in Glendale. He lived in San Gabriel because he needed to have enough room, because in his backyard he had a train station and a full-size train and a passenger car behind it. Hot.
Speaking of your acting and performances, you were Merlin in
Magic
Kingdom.
Looking for the new temporary royal ruler of Fantasyland. Oh, and don't worry, if you get chosen, it's only a temporary job.
That is fantastic. I picture the beard on
you. And I never looked better in my entire life because the costume weighed 40 pounds. I still work for Disney. I've researched and narrated videos for the Disney Parks blog. I write a quarterly column for Disney Files, which is the Disney Vacation Club magazine. I've written for the Disney Insider. What other assets do I have? And in Orlando, there's not a lot of opportunities. If I was out of work in LA, I could walk down the block and get a job. And so I thought, well, everybody's always said you should write a book. So I
certainly have the knowledge. I mean,
and so I wrote a book.
What was the first book?
The first book was called The Vault of Walt. And it had stories about Walt Disney, it had stories about the theme parks, it had stories about Disney films, and it had stories about just miscellaneous, like Walt's housekeeper who died a millionairess and didn't know. Because Walt would give her Disney stock for her birthday and for Christmas, and he said, hang on to that, one day it's going to be valuable. So she never looked at it, and after all the decades of splits and all this, when she died, it turned out she had millions of dollars worth of Disney stock. What happened is The Vault of Walt, and out of the blue, I got called from Diane Disney Miller. I had met her several times.
This is Walt's daughter.
She's calling me at home because she's setting up the Walt Disney Family Museum. And she's calling me for information on
Let me just say that again. Walt's daughter calls, okay?
And so she said, you know, I've been reading your columns because I write a weekly column for mouseplanet.com. I also write for allears.net.
Speaking of which, you have to help me get Deb Wills on the show.
Okay. She's off on vacation having fun.
She's
now.
always on vacation.
Yes.
I have to get to her.
And I also write, because I'm an animation historian, I write a column for cartoon research.com each week of animation anecdotes. So anyway, she called me and she said, you know, I've been reading your stuff, and she said, whenever I read your stuff, I can hear my father's voice. I said,
you can't get
and I said, well, I'm writing a book right now. And she says, well, I would write a foreword. She had never written a foreword for a book, ever.
Probably never will.
And so she did that. The book came out. The book did very well. I had strong disagreements with the publisher. And so I found another publisher, Bob McLean of Theme Park Press, themeparkpress.com, and he has over 50 Disney books. And sold so well, we had a volume 2 and then a volume 3. And in September 2015, the end of September, volume 4
I wish you would
is coming
release
out.
A collector's vault, like a little vault with 4 books in it.
And I also wrote a book called Who's Afraid of the Song of the South? Because I figured Disney is never going to write a book about that. Nobody's ever going to talk about that. So every fact is in there, including the fact that it wasn't shot in Atlanta, Georgia. It was shot in Phoenix, Arizona. Then, for those of you who are business-oriented, I've got Who's the Leader of the Club? Leadership Lessons from Walt Disney.
That could be for anybody, too.
It could.
It could be for parents,
well,
too.
In fact, we found that people who love Disney history love the book because I have in there close to 1,000 quotes of Walt, and they're all sourced. So you can find a Walt Disney quote about money, about all of this.
Are these available electronically?
Yes, they are on Kindle. They are also on Amazon.com. And as I said, go to themeparkpress.com and you'll see a whole listing of these books. And in fact, several schools are using Who's the Leader of the Club for some of their classes. And I just got flown up to Detroit, Michigan this summer to give a series of lectures to the Small Business Association, and this was the text of how you can turn your business around. How did Walt and Roy take a mom and pop business and make it into an entertainment empire? The same techniques they used, you can use, and it doesn't cost you an extra penny, it just costs you an extra moment of thought. Then I wrote a book called Animation Anecdotes. I wrote a column for 10 years for Animation Magazine of little behind-the-scenes stories of Disney cartoons and Tom and Jerry and Mr. Magoo and all of that. Then there's a book called The Book of Mouse, which is for Mickey Mouse's 85th birthday. It's a celebration of all things Mickey Mouse. And also out there, just released this month, Everything I Know I Learned from Disney Animated Feature Films.
That's great.
And so it's a book, and it has every single Disney animated feature film in order.
And the morals and things.
Has a summary, has fun facts
awesome.
behind the film, and then has 4 to 5 quotes. And it's not the usual quotes like "Let it go" or "Whistle while you work," but other things that were said in the film, like in Dumbo, where Timothy Mouse says, "What kept you down is going to lift you up."
I didn't remember that.
Yeah. And so, you have all of those in there, so that's a nice little...
And that's his ears. What kept you down is going to lift you up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
And so that's out there. And actually, I'm working on 2 super secret books right now.
Did you watch the PBS
yes.
What is it, a biography?
Yeah, American Experience is what it's called. And they've done some wonderful, wonderful shows on American Experience.
What's your overall opinion of that whole documentary?
It was not good. It was not good. The only good thing I can say about it is I hope that it will open up some discussion about Walt Disney. They always like to say, well, Disneyland is so much better because that's where Walt actually walked. Walt walked on the property out here too, and Walt saw all of this. And I know that you know that famous story on the night of December 14th. Roy was in... the hospital bedroom with Walt, and it was right across the street from the Disney Studios, and Roy had insisted that every light at the Disney Studio be on 24 hours a day so Walt could look out his hospital window any time of day or night and see his studio. Walt had good days and bad days, especially with the medication connected with cancer and all of that. But on that day, he seemed invigorated. Lillian had been there earlier that day, and he hugged her, and she said, "He seems so strong." Sitting there, Walt looked up at the acoustical tile on the ceiling, the ones with the little dots and all that, and he said, "Okay, you see that tile? Count down like about 2 tiles, and then go to the one on the left, and you see where that little shadow is? That's where we'll put the wastewater treatment plant, and then go down here." And he had planned out every single inch of Walt Disney World property. And at one point he stopped and he goes, "There, that's the spot." And Roy froze. Roy said, I'm paying attention to this. I know that this is going to be important. I know I'm going to, even if Walt gets better, I'm going to be the one having, what is it I've missed? And Walt says, "That's where we'll put a bench where Lily and I can sit and see all the happy people come in." And Roy left the hospital, phoned Lillian and said, "Lily, I think he's going to make it. I have never seen him happier in his entire life." And in fact, Walt always used to say, everybody who comes to Disneyland is only 10 years old. And that's very true. And then, of course, the next morning, Walt died, cardiac arrest. That just means the heart stopped. Respiratory,
which is how everybody technically
dies. And respiratory collapse, which means you stop breathing. That's on the death certificate. It's not, And what happened is they phoned, Lillian was staying with Diane, and Diane said, we got the call that we have to go to the hospital. And she said, "I never saw my mother move slower in her life." And I'm thinking, "Come on, Mom, we got to go. She said, "It was only until later I realized she probably knew he had gone, he had passed." And we got there, and she said, "My husband Ron went in first, and then he immediately came right back out as if somebody had just pushed him, a huge hand had pushed him, because you go in and yes, he's gone. His hands have been put on his chest. Down at his feet, Roy was rubbing his feet because Walt had always complained that his feet were cold in the hospital. So he was rubbing the feet, and he says, "I guess that's it, kid. I guess that's it." And Lillian came over and put her hands on top of his hands and said, "No more pain, no more pain." And
make you want to cry.
And again, I also tell that story because everybody goes, "Oh, well, he was frozen." If you're going to freeze somebody, you freeze them right before they die, or right at that moment. You don't leave him lying in state for hours, for the family.
You had me in rapture just now during this whole thing. I'm going to lighten it up by saying...
Well, and again, that's the difference between a Disney archivist and a Disney historian. A Disney archivist is like a librarian. You gather material, you catalog material, you make copies, you preserve it. A Disney historian takes those facts and weaves it into a story so you can see the sense of what those facts meant. And again, that's what they should have done on the PBS documentary.
They did not do what
they had people there who could have told Walt's stories. Walt donated to hundreds of charities, and nobody knows this.
All right, so you're going to promise me you're going to come back when the other books come out?
Oh, absolutely.
Because I got to get more of the storytelling history stuff from you. I can't possibly give you all of him. There's too much.
You know, and again, I'm not getting any younger. I feel this great obligation that I got a chance to meet some of these people. The picture, remember, if we don't look like George Clooney and Brad Pitt, there is something the matter with your electronic device.
And there you have it. Show number 27 is in the bag. Next month is a weird transition month. It's still kind of Halloween. Well, I mean, it really is, but we're kind of getting into a little bit of Christmas stuff. Then November is the big Christmas stuff. Our guest will be Mr. Jim Hill. He'll be here from Jim Hill Media. Rob Alvey will be returning. He was such a popular guest. Rob Alvey from Theme Park Review. We had to have him back. I mean, people are asking for him to come back. The show was extremely popular. He's somebody that you either love him or hate him, and the people want to know more about him. I love Rob Alvey. I'm having him back. And we should also have Eric and Rachel Yates here before the end of the year. They are from a website, Behind the Thrills. Please let me remind you, if you, a loved one, anybody, family member, friend is looking to vacation at Walt Disney World, even if they have their accommodations already, please have them check my exclusive sponsor, David's Vacation Club Rentals at dvcrentals.com. You're renting DVC points to stay in a beautiful villa at Disney. Usually the savings is remarkable because you're not going through regular reservations. You're renting somebody else's vacation club points. It's amazing. There's a price calculator on the site. There is no secret on what it costs. You can just put the dates in that you want and see exactly how much it would cost for what resort and what room type you want. Put in your requests. Go forth, create pandemonium, and above all, please keep giving out those panda hugs. Thank you for giving them to me when you guys see me in the park. A lot of people, they come up to me, they say hello, and I love that. But a lot of times I'm getting messages afterwards saying, we saw you, but we didn't want to bother you. You're not bothering me. No matter what I'm doing, it makes my day. Come up to me and say hi. I really appreciate it. All right? Until then, next time, Panda out. Love you guys.